again. So what we wanted to do is kind of give a sample of different startups. And I use the term startups very, very loosely, right? Kind of across the world. Some of them that we've worked with and working with from a unique venture standpoint that are working on different aspects of sustainability. So the first one I'm going to ask to speak is Yasmine with SMO Solar Process. And it takes a collaboration network to help these companies, right? So, she's on the French side and she's working with Business France. It's how do we start to establish these energy kind of virtual bridges, right? To globally help these companies, either from getting them penetration in markets or where's the best place for them to partner and do field trials. And so she's got an interesting, and don't get fooled by her solar name and her company. I'm just going to let you present your company, and then I think people will find this very interesting. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Yasmine.
Thank you very much, Amy. And really, I'm very happy to be here sharing on this global stage what we do. I'm going to share my screen. There. I think you can all see it now. All right. So, I'm Yasmine Encelade. I'm very happy to introduce you to SMO Solar Process today. What you see on the screen is our patented, modular, and solar-powered bioenergy with carbon capture technology that turns any type of carbon-based waste into green hydrogen, dispatchable green electricity, and profitable outputs worldwide, including in low infrastructure locations. So we humans need to reduce the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere and fast. Green hydrogen and carbon capture are the best bet for a net zero future, and SMO Solar Process does both profitably. Through bioenergy, we avoid new CO2, and our carbon capturing products store CO2 already in the cycle. With SMO, we could reduce CO2 concentration by 2 million tons a year every time we fulfill the energy needs of 1 million people. Talking of green hydrogen, the mainstream tech today, electrolysis, is on a learning curve that requires massive investment, best rationalized around big hubs to get competitive. Islands, especially vulnerable to climate change, as well as isolated territories, will probably face later access, higher cost, and minor socioeconomic benefits from the hydrogen economy. An island native, the inventor of SMO, meant for those territories to take leadership roles on their own existential issues, and it has been a strong guideline that can be found in many features of our tech. So SMO Solar Process is a plug-and-play, compact technology that uses 15 times less land than solar PV at same capacity. Each unit offers 2 megawatts, and they can be added up to fit production objectives. SMO can turn a wide range of wastes such as biomass residue, plastics, wastewater sludge, domestic waste into valuable outputs. Clean energy, biochar, activated carbon, carbon black that can be sold at low existing market prices. Because it's energy autonomous and can use different stream of local waste, SMO can be deployed even in low infrastructure locations. So everything within the dotted rectangle is what is happening within each SMO unit. It's completely energy autonomous using only solar energy and an ORC that recycles the heat into electricity for power. Inputs are carbon-based waste that have been homogenized into pellets to ensure stability and quality of the process. And then we operate in 2 steps: solar thermolysis and gasification. First, a high-temperature thermolysis reactor turns pelletized waste into excellent quality biochar with high carbon content. This ensures a constant input for SMO's innovative cyclonic plasma gasification reactor to produce hydrogen and carbon black, which is the way we will store the carbon from the CO2 and have our negative footprint. 2.5 tons of pure hydrogen are produced each time on a daily basis and can be used on site for electricity production, mobility application, or stored in high pressure container. Since the reaction happens at high temperature, SMO can guarantee the absence of dioxins, furans, and other toxic compounds as a byproduct of the thermal waste transformation. So because we manufacture an important part of our technology, we have chosen to offer a low capex compared to electrolysis or gasification. As you can see on the table, in the short term or future massive projects, we are priced to 3 times lower than what appears in press releases. Added up with low OPEX, since we don't pay the intensive energy we use and use waste as input, we are able to generate 2-digit margins while reaching net zero goals. In a nutshell, we help energy producers and distributors that need to transition to net zero solutions move faster and competitively on green hydrogen early niches. And unlike other technology that need to build up scale to be competitive, our technology allows for decentralized operation at industrial scale, which offers permanent solutions for territories that would be kept from the hydrogen economic boom. SMO offers additional benefits by treating a range of environmental source port as revenue-generating byproducts. SMO solar process adapts to local development conditions, and as such, we've been exploring different scenarios and their impact on competitivity and the bottom line, starting with the clean energy market for Ireland that projects $7 billion of yearly revenue by 2030. We have won several labels and awards that have allowed us to raise public interest in our solution and get us early traction. We are now having advanced discussion with the island of Kres of Croatia for a 2-megawatt pilot. We are partnering with the local waste management agency to treat municipal solid waste, for which we get a tipping fee, while generating electricity from green hydrogen to be injected in the grid at a price set by the national network. Within this setup, we are able to generate profit margin of 25% as of the first full year of operation with green hydrogen priced at $1.50 per kg. In Guadeloupe, a French Caribbean island where the hydrogen market is less ready, SMO Solar Process offers opportunities to initiate new hydrogen markets while staying profitable by commercializing alternative soil remediation products. Our model is to set up joint ventures with regional actors to benefit from their knowledge and networks while we take care of the technology and its upgrade. We are currently raising $2 million for the Croatian pilot, where we have strong local support as a first step toward a larger operation in Southeast Europe. We are, however, open to exploring other opportunities around the world, and you can see we have a large geographical area to do so. So the team is led by a brilliant scientist with more than 2,000 patents to his name and a team of business developers to find the best partnership around the world to develop SMO technology. So to conclude, I invite you to check our website where you can see the prototype in action and, of course, reach out to us to explore possibilities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yasmine. That was a great presentation, as always. Yeah. I'm going to go through our next two, and then I'm going to bring everyone together, and then we can have a few discussion points kind of on your process and maybe some sharing with the audience, maybe other startups, you know, some learnings that you have. So next I'm going to ask, and this person is coming from New Zealand. I'm really excited, another corner of the world. For those that don't know, New Zealand has really been pushing their ecosystem and innovation. You know, I attend calls on a regular basis on some of the startups that are coming from our fellow Kiwis. So Mr. Perzaan is going to present to us on the Vortex power systems and that technology. And it's related to kind of how do you convert some of the source waste heat. So I'm going to pass the mic over to you and let you present your technology. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be able to speak to you today. In just a second, I'll quickly share my screen so you can see the presentation. So as Amy said, my name is Perzaan Mehta, and I'm the CEO of Vortex Power Systems, an innovative and disruptive company building a technology unlike anything you would have ever seen. Our goal is to create these controllable water spouts and use them to generate electricity. It's a bold idea, it's an ambitious idea, but it's one that's backed by some real science. And our story starts with these two gentlemen here. On the right is Professor Richard Flay of the University of Auckland. Professor Flay is a world-renowned expert in wind and aerodynamic engineering. In fact, his work was part of the key innovation developments that allowed the Team New Zealand to win the America's Cup in the late 90s and early 2000s. Neil Hawkes on the left is a thermodynamic engineer who's worked in industry for close to 30 years. And both these two gentlemen came together to study the phenomena you see in the middle, dust devils. They wanted to understand how they formed and why they formed. And what they found is that actually you can reverse engineer and create a natural phenomena like this if you have three things. The first is a source of hot water. The second is a little bit of space in a remote area. And the third is swirl, which is a fancy way of saying spinning air. Now, swirl is fairly easy to reverse engineer and create, but finding a source of hot water in a remote area sounds a bit challenging. But luckily for us, there's a device that is widely used in industry that enables us to find these two resources, and that's cooling towers. Their function is to take the hot water that's left over from industrial processes and bring it back down to ambient temperatures. Now, the excess heat in this process is just vented to the atmosphere and lost. Just how much energy is lost through cooling towers every year is quite staggering. It's estimated that the waste heat is about 13 million gigawatt hours of power, worth of power lost every year. To put that into perspective, that is the energy consumption of the US, China, and India, the world's three largest consumers of electricity globally. So how does our technology work? Well, what we do is we take the hot water that was going towards the cooling tower and we spray it in our vortex station. This saturates the air, which makes it lighter than the surrounding air, causing it to rise, and creates a local vacuum effect, which draws in the surrounding air. As that surrounding air is drawn in, it gets directed by these vanes that you see on the outside. This provides it that swirl that I was talking about earlier. And when you have swirling, rotating air coming into the center and rising, what you get is effectively an atmospheric buoyancy vortex. Now, this phenomena produces very high wind speeds at the bottom close to the ground. So it makes sense to put a turbine there and extract some of that as electricity. We've recently filed patents around our technology in various jurisdictions globally, including the US, China, Europe, Eurasia, and other key and strategic markets as well. Now, we think this is a fantastic way to utilize some of the excess resource that's currently wasted for a couple of reasons. The first, clean energy generation. There's zero carbon produced in this mode of electricity generation. It's retrofittable and easily connectable to existing infrastructure. Because of its simple design, we expect it will have very attractive economics and levelized cost of electricity. And finally, it's effective with what's called low-grade waste heat, which is the problematic end of the waste heat market, where it is not too many technologies that can economically extract energy from. So just to speak a little bit more about our team, myself, I have a background in robotics and automation engineering, finance and economics, and have worked in startups for close to 4 years in operational and entrepreneurial roles. My colleague Billy is a process engineer who's worked in as a consultant developing and designing industrial process plants. We're supported by a very strong board of directors as well. Our chair is independent chair, Paul Smart, was the CFO of one of the largest power companies in New Zealand. And prior to that, was the chief financial officer of a very large telco company. We've got Jaco Pretorius, who is an aerodynamic engineer from the United States and provides us access to that as a key market. And we also have Brent Ogilvy, who has a background in engineering and an MBA, who also provides support from our investors. So in 2018, we created an atmospheric vortex testing rig, and we're able to prove the technology worked and the science worked the way we said it could. In 2019, we were able to prove the physics principles underpinning our key innovation. And in 2020, we were able to demonstrate that we could create these vortices in cost-effective ways. And so that led us to then go and launch our seed round, of which we recently completed, of 2 million NZD. That was to take us from a proof of concept and to do detailed designs to build a demonstration unit. After which we aim to raise a Series A, where we'll look to build a pilot plant and look to do first sales and partnerships. We'd love to get engagement with the market early. So if there's any questions or any interest in learning more about us, please send me an email. My email is perzaan@vortexpowersystems.com. And thank you once again for the opportunity to speak to you all.
Thank you, Perzaan. That was lovely. And again, we have to give a quick shout out to our partners again at Energy Conference Network and Simon Rubens, based out of Australia, who got us connected with Vortex. So thank you for sharing that. And I see now we have Christine Moon, who's going to present. She's based in the US in Silicon Valley. And her tech startup is Blue Space AI. And this is going back to focusing on the future of autonomy. So thank you, Christine, and I'll pass the mic over to you.
Great, thank you. I will start sharing my screen. So hopefully you guys can see that. Well, thanks for having me. So my name is Christine Moon, co-founder at bluespace.ai. Our tagline is predictive perception for all autonomy. So I came to Silicon Valley in 2004 when I joined Google. I was there for about 9 years before moving on to other tech companies like Dropbox, and then a previous company called Drive.ai, which was a spin out from Stanford's AI lab. My co-founder and I got to work really closely together, launching full AV stack software services, carrying passengers in 2 different cities in Texas. When the company became part of Apple in 2019, Joel and I decided to start BlueSpace. And BlueSpace is taking a contrarian view, along with many folks who are part of our team now, to autonomy. And I'll tell you more about that. Most recently, we were recognized by NASA as the finalist for their iTech Cycle 1 Challenge with our predictive perception platform. So as we know, being at TSS today, autonomy is supposed to help the environment, help with the electrification, bring more efficiency to fuel use, make it safer for a lot of folks, and better use the resources we have, whether that's real estate and others. But why isn't autonomy everywhere today? Well, first of all, there are endless edge cases or long tail of small problems, as Elon Musk calls it. And there are challenges in terms of faster reaction time and being able to have efficiency and compute power, especially when we think about electrification. And current methods don't quite scale. And that's what BlueSpace is looking to address. So our approach, if you were to ask, well, tell me how you're different. Well, instead of using deep learning, machine learning inference approach, which was the approach we took previously, we have seen that it's very effective as a tool, but it doesn't get us to the finish line. And that's where we measure true motion of all objects in real time. And this doesn't require prior training data set or reliance on HD map. Thus, it's something that scales across all locations, anywhere, and across different vehicle platforms. And this is something that can be an add-on to your existing software or can be a standalone perception. So again, this wasn't possible before. As you know, it's hardware innovation that spurs on software innovation. And with the next gen sensors, 4D sensors, we're able to offer software that handles all objects in all locations. And again, this means efficient use of compute power. And this is important for a lot of electric vehicles. And that means safer because we're reacting faster. And this means removing all third-party dependencies that could introduce vulnerabilities to your software, such as training data sets that we talked about earlier. So technology is one thing, but another thing is building trust in the software itself. And that means the following. If you were to commercialize any levels of autonomy, you need to have a third party, independent party, to be able to say, hey, their software is as good as they said they are. We validated, we verified it. And it has to be a solution that is capital and time efficient, so it could scale. As you know, right now, if you look at companies that's been around for a decade plus, we're merely getting from one city to the other. How do we go from 2, 3 cities to 50, 100 cities? And as you know, there's a growing concerns around data privacy in Europe and Asia and here in North America as well. And because we don't rely on data training set such that we are free from data privacy concerns and overhead that goes with that. Well, enough talking. Let's think about the numbers. How do we measure against the industry benchmarks? So when we think about full motion, we think about lateral, rotational, along with radial motion. Those are the 3 key components. And across those 3 things, we do very well. And especially when you think about how we perform relative to industry, 10x up to 100x better. And this is where a lot of partners in the industry will say, well, I want to see for myself. And that's where we've been doing a lot of proof of concepts with automotive suppliers. And that includes on-road and off-road autonomy as well, mining, agriculture. So again, we are scalable software solution that works in all locations with all objects. Well, let me show you what we mean by that. So this is if you think about, this is some of the setups that we did. This is Occluded Pedestrian, as you see here. Unless you've been trained on people's heads to recognize people as a whole, your system may not be able to recognize that's actually a pedestrian being occluded by that giant green box. And that happens all the time in our day-to-day. That's one example. And what about other examples? I'm going to fast forward a little bit. And we think about all forms of mobility, scooter being one of them. This is a person on a scooter, and you're able to see. And again, we don't use camera. This is just for our conversation, but we see is dark color that shows where the person is and lighter color showing you where they will be in the future. So we talked about scooter. I'm going to fast forward to other objects. This is a pedestrian in a box carrying boxes. Why is she doing that? No one knows, but that happens. And let's look at cars. So again, this is where the object is. This is predicting where it will be. Again, we're predictive perception. And this is showing you that even before the car is making a turn, our predictive perception, and this is the aerial view, as oftentimes that's how it's looked at for perception, is able to predict right here. Vehicle motion slightly to the right, but we're able to predict that. And these things are what makes our road safer, protects our pedestrians and drivers themselves. In the interest of time, I'm going to skip to the next video, which is around our office here in Santa Clara, California. We're driving and we're able to see all the objects, multiple objects on the road, and being able to show you that, okay, we're able to see this car that's about to make a U-turn and being able to predict that. That's another strong win. And I'm going to skip again for interest of time to nighttime driving. So this is us in San Jose, another city close to us. There's this bicyclist right there. Well, he seems to want to cut across. We caught that. There's a bus in front of us and objects of all shapes and sizes. So what you see here may not look different on the surface, but it's what happens behind the scenes or what didn't happen. No, we did not collect hours and hours of data. 40 hours of annotated data could cost the company about $800,000 as a benchmark. We don't need to do that. So when we say we're predictive perception for all autonomy, we mean that, whether it's passenger carrying, trucks, mining, agriculture, logistics. So we are a software company that would enable autonomy that doesn't require a lot of capital and efforts in terms of training, no HD map, and works everywhere. And this is something that we're currently actively testing with many, and we would love to work with many of you in the audience and as part of the speaker list to test this out in the scenarios that you care about. So again, we're perception without boundaries, Blue Space. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Amazing. Probably the only time I haven't seen someone's video not work, right? Yours went flawlessly. Huh? So very good. Yay. Yeah, very good. No pauses, seamless, fabulous. And then the last person who's going to present, and then hopefully we ask a few questions, is Raghu. And so Raghu is his technology is also then more from a societal and an impact, right, on communities. And first focusing on from an India standpoint. So his thematic is power for all. So I think this is fabulous because we don't see enough of these companies in this space. And I really welcome the opportunity to highlight Raghu and his efforts here. So I'm passing the mic to you, Raghu.
Thank you, Amy. Let me just share the screen. A minute. I hope the screen is visible. Yeah, hi, my name is Raghu Raman, and shortly call me Raghu. So this is a story about Behance Energy, the company that I founded about a decade ago. And this is all about decentralized renewable energy. And we are part of the very large solar system, solar industry. And I would categorize them broadly in four segments, and we are in the segment 4, the decentralized off-grid renewable energy. And this is a growing segment, and it is estimated to be 100 billion market size by 2024. So what exactly do we do? There are a number of problems in the last mile of electricity shortage, the lack of electricity. So we have chosen to focus on two things. One is providing energy or clean energy to the rural banks and financial institutions so that the financial inclusion of the rural poor is accelerated. And the second objective is, of course, providing electricity directly to those underserved or those who don't have electricity at all, which is a very large number across the world. It's billion plus because it includes people with poor electricity and no electricity. So we do these two things, and the way we do is we put together a technology solution which is combining wind and solar, micro wind and solar, and we provide these. We design the systems, we optimize the design, and we procure the material, and we get this going as per the requirement of the load. And we have been running it very successfully for last several years. And one of the most important thing is the banks have to have a very high uptime of energy availability. And once they have it, it has been proven that they're able to do financial inclusion 30% faster and with 50% lesser carbon footprint. The microgrids or the direct provisioning of electricity to the remote areas, we often end up creating what we call as the first-time users of electricity. It's amazing that there are millions of people who haven't still seen electricity, and we reach out to them. A brief overview is that because we are a decade old, we have done several projects, and about 800 of these systems have been commissioned across 570 towns and villages in 21 states of India. And as I said, we are well known for being a pioneer in the solar and wind being combined into a hybrid system. And that's what we have done very successfully in very high altitudes and snow terrains. We've been EBITDA positive, and our total installed capacity is about 2 megawatt distributed, all distributed. And we have won several awards and recognitions, including being showcased in SOCAB in 2015 in San Francisco, and and a prestigious award from the Next Institute of Wind Energy. So the business model is anchored on three verticals. Number one is providing solar and wind, whatever is the source of energy, to the banks, and backed by a service level agreement or performance contract. And we put our money, so the assets are leased to them, and they pay a rental, long term, 8 years, and it's linked to the performance, the service level that we provide to them. And we support them, we make this run. We have a pool of technical resources all over India, about 100 of them. We operate on a hub and spoke model. So here the focus is make the bank run from 9 to 5 or whatever time. The second vertical is productive microgrids, where, as I said, we operate at very high altitudes, most of them. And we just provide lighting and mobile phone charging because there's no need for cooling or fan, because these are high altitude in the hills. So one thing that we learned is that we need to get integrated with the community to make them realize something from the benefit of electricity. So we actually help the farmers to market their agricultural surplus to the urban areas. Then we work with the commercial and industrial units for scaling up the capacity of CO2 reduction or avoidance. And we have recently got into agriculture, water pumping. So this just gives a snapshot view of how we have grown in these last several years. The bank branches are nearing 1,000. We would be in so many towns, and of course the microgrid, we ran into a bit of challenge during the COVID time. We couldn't do as many microgrids as we should have done. We kept doing the branches. But the most important thing is the kind of impact that we have created. We did a benchmark study sometime in 2015-16 on what is it we have done, and we keep measuring the progress we have made. So, for example, the most important thing is we are heading towards the carbon dioxide avoidance, as I call, at about 30,000 metric tons would be what we are probably at about 20,000 right now, and we will reach 30,000. The second thing is because we provide reliable solar energy to the banks and financial institutions, about 5 million people have been enrolled into what is known as world's largest financial inclusion program, the Prime Minister's Jan Dhan Yojana. Our contribution is very modest. We have got about 5 million people into that. But that is very important because these are from very remote areas. So where are we? We stand at a juncture. COVID-19 was very harsh on us. We are very lucky. We are very fortunate that our current investors and lenders supported us to survive through the hard time. But I think we are standing at a very, very unique opportunity. During the COVID, the government did what is called a direct benefit transfer. And that's part of the $300 billion digital economy of the country. Now, everybody in the rural area has to have a bank account to avail these subsidies and benefits that the government is directly transferring to them. So that drives the need for the banks to have more and more branches. We estimate that about 120,000 more rural branches will be opened up in the next decade. So we are looking at a very modest number of just about 4,000 plus rural branches and additional 300 more microgrids. But what's interesting that we are looking at is that in each of these 4,000 locations, when we operationalize these branches with solar, we would probably be the first and the only solar installation in the town, which gives an idea to the micro enterprises in that village, in the town, be it a pharmacy, be it grocery shop, a tailor shop, or whatever, saloon. They get an idea how to solve their electricity access problem, and the banks can actually provide them a small loan. So we are working with our customers to create a range of lending products, and we should soon be launching this. And our goal is to green about 50,000 such rural enterprises. So that's one aspect of decarbonization. The other aspect is we want to, take the decarbonization to every every possible, individual who can contribute to that. So we're working with a Dallas-based, it's a cross-border initiative. We are working with a Dallas-based software company in creating an app where you can make your choice. What is the most appropriate green material, whether you are doing a new construction or reconstruction? So of course, we are heading for more financial needs. And that's my Texas connection. And as I said, what we have demonstrated is localized, small-scale sustainability, which is globally replicable. Thank you.
Thank you, Raghu, so much. Yeah. So everyone did fabulous. Yeah. Everyone stuck to their time. So I thought this time we'll kind of bring everyone, and then I can ask, a few questions, just a little bit of interaction, and also then from the startups too, in the audience, and especially Asia Pac, right? So I'm gonna first start with Yasmine, because she just finished kind of going through and pitching to industry, right? She worked with Unique, some of our energy partners, over a 4-week kind of rapid process. And earlier in the panel, we talked about, trying to work with the energy industry. What's one thing that you learned as you were going through that process and getting ready to kind of, share your technology with industry?
Well, it was a very interesting program because we've been developing our technology for 10 years now, and I've reached a level of advancement. But how to share it without revealing too much, but giving enough information with industry specialists was really something that we got to work on with the Unique team. And that's something that make us get really better, I think, at presenting what we do and how we share it. And we've seen already returns on that, on the way people can accept that what we say, because it doesn't exist yet on the wide space, but it gives confidence in what we do and the fact that we can expect the results that we are announcing. So yeah, we really appreciated to be guided along this level of confident sharing with industry partners.
Thank you, Yasmine. Because I don't want to highlight that point. It's, when you work with certain verticals, especially I'll use energy example, just fine tuning the messaging and the value proposition, right? So they can understand how are you meeting a need that I may have, right? So I think that was really good. Mr. Perzaan, I thought maybe you could share us, where do you see your technology evolving, right? So right now you're looking at waste heat recovery and focus on the power side. But where do you guys think that you could take this technology next?
Thanks, Amy. Yeah, look, I think we see at the current waste heat as the most pressing need, where we can create electricity from a wasted resource. But I think longer term, we see opportunities for using this as a way of thermal storage, in that it could be quite complementary to wind and solar, whereby excess heat produced by solar concentration plants and the like could heat water that is then maintained and then slowly discharged to the vortex at nighttime. So that, I think that's our more lofty and ambitious goal. But for now, we want to be able to validate the technology, prove it works, and then look to deploy it in industry as fast as possible.
Oh, thanks. Now I'm going to ask Christine a question, right? Because she comes from the land of California, right? And the Silicon Valley. And of course, we deal with a lot of companies based out of California. And, you get a lot of, people saying, the digital space is kind of overcrowded. And you've obviously, I don't know if you guys caught this, but Christine has been in startups before and had success, right? So, for people that are out there, and we get a lot of digital companies, especially coming from Asia Pac now as well, right? where some of those countries, kind of really want them to get market penetration in North America. What do you think some of the biggest challenges are? Where are the biggest challenge you've had to face as a successful entrepreneur, or advice you would give them?
I actually think the pandemic leveled the playing field in the sense that we're all connected through Zoom. I can't tell, from the Zoom who's sitting where. And I think this is a great opportunity for startups to really shine through with a clear message, working their network. You don't have to be here to talk to investors here. You don't have to be here to talk to partners here. And I think global perspective is actually very helpful. I've lived in Hong Kong. I've lived in South Korea. I traveled extensively throughout the region for previous work. And I think the fact that somebody's seen it from a different perspective, and as you think about sustainability and also autonomy everywhere, it's not going to be one winner take all. It's going to be the ones who understand uniquely what's needed for the local market they operate in is a strong perspective. So go out there with confidence, work all your networks, hone in on the message, and just believe and deliver, right? It can't be just a storytelling. I think you have to ultimately let your technology speak for itself. But I think as all of us are sitting here today, we all come from different backgrounds, from walks of life at different stages in life. And I think that's a great thing to have. So I'm actually eager to tap into great opportunities and talent base overseas. So would love to connect with all the entrepreneurs here and anyone who wants to, share notes. I am eager to learn from you. So thanks.
Thank you, Christine. Yeah. Okay, we got Mr. Raghu next because I'm about out of time. So as you've kind of, worked, and your business model is very different, right? And you've worked, also with NGOs, right? So, kind of what are you looking for next in terms of partnerships, as you want to kind of grow your eHands model out, right, for the audience, if there are any people that want to kind of reach out to eHands, because I really like what you guys are doing.
Right. Thanks, Amy. I think the challenge that we have gone through is, we have now gone into what we call as the OpEx model. In the sense, we put our capital, procure the assets, and then deploy it on a long-term, contract with these financial institutions. So I think raising money consistently, so it's not like once in 2 years we do to meet the operational expense. Now, this is an asset building process continuously. So we're looking for partners, funders or investors who understand that this is a asset building process. So that's number one. The second thing is, in the off-grid space, the decentralized renewable energy space, a lot of money we have studied, from the multilateral institutions and even private investors, a lot of money is flowing into Africa. So every Indian company similar to us who have been successful have included the Africa story. So we're looking for partner to enter. So it need not be something that we do alone. We can partner with somebody, because that's where the action is. Because India has sent this narrative that we have almost reached the tail end of electrification, which is partly true and not true. So we're looking for partners who can take us to cross-border. And of course, as I said, we are working with a Dallas-based company, so we are planning to expand the opportunities using that software too. So anything in these three areas, we would welcome partnerships and collaborations. Thank you.
Well, great. Well, thank you, all of you, and for everyone in the audience. We have their details and titles too. Please feel free to reach out to them. But if you have trouble connecting, always reach out to Ty Houston, and we'll glad to get you connected with these startups. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Amy. And I just want to mention that it's been a pleasure working with you, Knight, and Nick has been very, very helpful.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you. Next session.
Yeah. Thank you, Amy. Thank you very much for showcasing some of the very interesting companies And I really love the whirlwind thing in New Zealand. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they develop. And it's actually very interesting. I never thought about something like that could be even thought about, right? So excellent presentations. And
they have, I'll just quickly interrupt. They have a great YouTube video, right? So if you can't find it, reach out, and I'm sure Perzaan will provide it for the audience. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll make sure that it's presented out there. Yeah, I think some very interesting ideas out there. Thank you.